So, hello. We are making a video. Oh, I just wanna, since it's good light right now, I wanna take some photos and video film of my artwork in the sun. Very nice. Oh yeah. I can see it. Let's see the angle is. Well, the angle is. This is very nice. Yes. Hello. 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 Yeah. It is so nice. It's nice. Very, very nice. It is so nice. This is. Well, it looks nice. Well, it's nice. Yeah. We got rocks from the ocean. They are very, very nice. This is ocean art. This is blue god art. So, these here I made in the other house, and I brought it back here because they belong together. Those are all my ET spaceships, all of them. Yes, and there is a bunch of stuff that I put in there, like foam candy that is just foam decoration, and flower petals. Looks real nice, real nice. Oh yeah, that's nice, is that? Oh yeah, so gorgeous. Okay, and my artwork, so nice. Oh yeah, together forever. Oh yeah, and there is the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful baby dog. Yes, a beautiful god is that. Yes, that's a beautiful god. He blends right into the rug. Very, very nice. And here is more artwork, but Paul is coming and I am not allowed to film in his direction ever. So we hung up some artwork here. That was an enormous ordeal because I was only allowed to use the already existing holes. Nail holes. No, that made things very complicated. It's a little mentally ill, but whatever. We all got our issues, right? So, and there is Donald Trump standing there next to his Trump Tower. This is the Trump Tower. And two ghosts and an artwork I made like in 2008 that was so orange, and that artwork here was made by Paul's mother. Yes, very, very sweet, and that looks good together. Okay, I'm making a video. Yes, and I'm not going to delete video, and I'm not going to delete it. I'm not deleting it. I'm not. I told you. I have warned you about it. I told you I'm going to make a video, so I knew this was gonna happen. But dang, ding, ding, ding. Careful with the baby dog there. Baby dog there. So, I'm not going to delete this because I just did a real complex artwork, so no, I'm not going to delete it. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. So, but anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about mental illness, as we're already with the subject. I have my mental illness too, and it's not fun. Whoever lives with me would not be a pleasant experience. Okay, so because I'm very difficult to live with, very difficult. I'm very demanding. I'm very authoritarian, and he is too, and that clashes enormously. So that is. That always causes enormous nervous breakdowns and a complete nervous confrontation and hour-long berating and complaining and shouting matches, and it's exhausting. Oh, it is so exhausting. That's why it is easier when you are authoritarian, to live with someone who's very meek and mild. And someone who's meek and mild should actually live with someone who's meek and mild too. Or that's just my personal health advice, but if you can't help it, you live with someone who's authoritarian, well, then you're gonna have to live through some bulldozing and some difficult moments of stress and all of that. But if you're meek and mild and you don't say anything, then the other person will calm down, right? So, and maybe the other person will not even get started. So that helps a lot. But if both people are horned, and that's probably where that devil thing came from, the horned devil. Obviously came from the god Faunus. I researched all of this and I thought that was enormously interesting. The god Faunus, that's the same god as Pan. That is the pagan fertility god. Okay, and the fertility god, that is thousands of years old. The fertility god. That fertility god is a fictional person or being. I believe it's fictional. I don't know. There could have been an ET that looked like that, but the fertility god is a symbol of harvest time, of pagan farming with knowledge of the star constellations, and that god statue that they created that symbolizes fertility, that symbolizes animals, like horned animals that have the will to power, okay, and with a hoof, and also part human and part goat and part horse and part other animal, bovine, and all of that combined, right? And so it's a fertility symbol statue. That's what it is. Nothing else. Okay, it means peace. It means good harvest. It means abundance, it means the will to power, it means nature, it means working in harmony with nature. They had to, when the first pagan farmers, when they started to get settled in Europe, and they were no longer nomadic, they had to work in very close observation and harmony with the land that they lived on. And so they did a lot of drawings and writings and studying nature, studying plants, studying animals, their characteristics, their appearance, the texture, the herbs, what they do, how they make them feel when they make tea with it, how the herbs can be used for healing teas and healing tinctures and salves and all kinds of things that they made out of the herbs to heal their different sores or injuries or whatever. So it was all wonderful and really harmonious, right? It wasn't, it still had some issues because obviously the human is always work in progress. So there were still rivalries and all that stuff, but they tried to get along. And the farther north you go, in the past, the farther north, the more the people got along with each other and the more peaceful they were with each other. And that's because they evolved that way. This is actually eugenics by nature. Because the ones that are not peaceful, they would die out. They would become extinct. So that's eugenics, okay? Eugenics that was created by the force of nature, by the cold climate. So the further north you go in Europe, the colder it gets in the winter time. Siberia is the worst, the harshest, the North Pole. And the animals and humans that survived there, they had to get along with one another. That's why there was a story about a little boy that got lost. That was here in the United States, actually, but somewhere in the northern region, like, I don't know, like Minnesota or something. Little boy got lost, like a 3-year-old boy, and he was just wandering around, and he was all in awe with nature and the trees. He got into the forest, and it got dark, and it was like already way into fall, and was getting really dark outside and really cold outside. And so he was shivering, sitting there by a tree and trying to get warm. And a mother bear comes over. I don't even know whether she had a baby or not. She came over and she recognized that little boy as an infant, as a young baby, basically. And it doesn't matter to her what species that baby belongs to. She felt sorry and she felt compassion for that baby. So she wrapped her whole body around that boy and kept him warm, and also gave him food. Like, I don't know how, but probably carried food to him in her mouth and and spit the food into his mouth or something, and also had water in her mouth and spit that into his mouth. So he survived. He told them later that just as a matter of fact, when he was coming back into the community and they found him, he said, well, there was a bear mother who protected me from the cold and gave me food and water. So it's the most normal thing in the world, right? And everyone was like, what? And particularly, the Christians, the fundamentalists, the hunters, the factory farmers, farmers in general. Those type of people. They can't even wrap their heads around it, around a situation like that, because they have been drilled with propaganda against nature and against animals, and thinking every animal is just as selfish as they are. So they project onto the animals and all of that, and they think, oh, a little boy would be food, right, for a bear, a large bear. No, obviously not. The bear mother felt sorry for that little boy and protected him from the elements and fed him. So these things do happen more in the north, where the animals and beings, where they have to survive, where they have to, the ones that do that, right? It's not like it's induced by something. It's just the ones that happen to do it. They are like this genetically. They will pass on their genes. They will survive. And love, the ability to love, is part of that, okay? This eugenics, natural selection that selects, in this case, completely by nature, selects those, makes those survive, that are able to love. And what is love? Is love selective? No. Love is an ability. Love is a mental state. Love is compassion. Love is giving. Love is empathy. And when someone has empathy, they don't only have empathy with their own babies. It's not selective. It's not selfish. True altruism, true love, true compassion has no limits, has no borders, has no speciesism. It doesn't select, it doesn't weed out. The bear mother, she sees a shivering little baby being, and she doesn't even think about that. She just, the love is just there, and the love makes her go over and put her body around him to protect him. And that's the energy of the infinite cosmos, okay? And that is what compassion is. That is what empathy is. Empathize with another living being. And I love my baby dog. He's not my species, okay? If I had given birth, then I would love him too, just like I love the baby dog. I would carry my baby on my chest all the time. All the time. I would never leave my baby alone. The baby would be on a baby carrier on my chest or on my back at all times. Okay, and I would do that also with an infant, orphaned animal baby, exactly the same way. Okay, so I found an orphaned squirrel baby that was in LA when we still lived in LA. And I held that baby on my chest. The problem was that we had the two Great Danes, and Samantha got that squirrel baby because I couldn't all the time watch over that squirrel baby. I tried to keep him away from the dogs, but Samantha got to him anyway. So it's very tragic, all of this. So that doesn't quite mix when you have a dog or dogs, several dogs, and you want to rescue a baby animal that's orphaned. So that's most likely not going to work out. But if I didn't have dogs and I find an orphaned animal baby, then I would do the very best I can, and it's good to share that with someone else, because you can't constantly have that baby on you. You have to also take a shower and go to the bathroom, those kind of things. I mean, maybe you can go to the bathroom with an animal baby on the back, something like this, but taking a shower, that's going to be difficult. So yeah, it's not that easy, but any animal baby, no matter what species they belong to, they have to be on the mother 24 hours, and as long as they are growing up, until they want to walk around and explore things. So when they get older, when they get like excited about their surroundings and they want to have their independence, then you can let them walk around, but you have to watch over them, of course. So that's how I view this, A baby animal, particularly a nursing baby, should be on the mother or surrogate mother. That could be also a man that's surrogate mother, okay, like Paul. He could carry a baby like that, and he would. So, like, let's say, for example, in Australia, they find orphaned baby animals all the time because of poachers and hunters. It's really horrible. We sign petitions all the time. And there are good Samaritans, as they are everywhere on the planet, and I'm infinitely grateful they exist. And they will go and they will rescue these baby animals, whether that's a baby kangaroo that is still really dependent on the mother and also nursing, and then they bottle feed these animals. And when that baby is an orphaned baby wombat, now because they are shaped just like a human baby, basically, you can put them into a regular baby carrier that you can put on your chest. And a lot of people do that in Australia. They find baby wombats, and they are the most adorable in the whole world. And they bottle feed them, and they put them in the baby carrier, and they know they have to carry them around, because otherwise they feel lonely and abandoned, and that's traumatic for them. They have to be on the mother or surrogate mother all the time, 24 hours. And even sleep in bed with the surrogate mother, if that is possible, if the mother can somehow still have the carrier on her and then still be able to turn over and sleep on the side and on the back and on the other side. So that would be the ideal situation to do that, because they want to feel the mother on their body. This is very, very urgently important, okay, that every baby animal has a mother or any being that takes the place of the mother. Okay, so it's very, very important. Important information that I share, that everyone needs to know. So mental illnesses, they come from not having had this security. That's where mental illness comes from. Mainly, okay, so that is the main cause. That is, I would say, takes 75 to 80% of the causality that causes mental illness later in life. When a person did not have that mother protection and mother cuddling and love and touch, feeling the security on the mother's body. Okay. That can cause unimaginable suffering for the rest of their lives when they have been traumatized, and they often end up in situations that are kind of resembling the trauma, and it has to do with synchronicity. It has to do with the repetition compulsion of this mental illness, that we somehow re-attract this situation of the trauma and then end up in that situation. Some people don't even know how they ended up back in a situation like this, where they're constantly abandoned or beaten even, or left alone somewhere, or left in a forest alone. All of these things have been happening to adults too, and people end up again and recreating the same trauma over and over and over again. And this is very tragic. So I've seen it in my own life happening, and it's very unfortunate and very tragic. There's also genetics that plays into it, of course. And all of the percentage that I'm talking about is just very vague guess. There could also be cases where it's all genetics, or where the actual trauma can be passed on genetically, biologically. Okay, so trauma from our ancestors, from our parents, and even grandparents, and even ancestors farther back. We can suddenly inherit maybe something that was dormant for a while through a couple of generations, and then suddenly it reappears. That's called, in biology, that's called atavism, when something reappears. That is usually referred to in terms of the phenotype, the appearance of a living being. But it can also occur in terms of something mentally. Why not? Of course, it's obvious, right? And suddenly there is a being born that would never have met the thing that they have a phobia of in their lives, never had any access to it. For example, I take myself as an example for this. Very interesting. When I came into existence, I was screaming a lot, all the time. So this was pain that I carried with me from my past existences. I have done a meditation on the internet by Brian Weiss. He was doing a meditation for an audience, and that video was also then put on YouTube, and he was inviting everyone in the audience and also on the internet who watches this particular session to participate in this and see what happens. Okay, so sit on a comfortable chair, close your eyes, and then he was doing the guided meditation to guide us back into our past life, the very last one. And he said, now imagine you're waking up from this trance and you find yourself in this past life. And whatever happens to that past life, you are not going to relive the trauma. You're just going to be, you will experience it as that being, but you will not re-experience the pain. you will be more like an observer in your own past body. And that's very nice, very beautiful, the way he structured that. And so you wake up and you look down on your legs. What do you see? And I thought that's very, very nice to start with that. Do you see shoes? Do you see feet? Do you see human legs? Or do you see an animal? Animal legs, hooves, right? Or paws. So I did this, and I didn't expect anything from it. I just went along and I just said, why not try it, right? And I went into this mental state and I envisioned I'm looking down on my legs and I see beige Great Dane legs and paws. And I'm standing there, it's in a forested area, the sun is shining on me, the afternoon sun. And it was in Germany, it was Nazi Germany, the year was around like 1933, 1934. And the worst era, one can go back into meditation. And there was this Great Dane, and the Great Dane was living with a couple, and I think they were moving or something. May have been a Jewish couple that had to evacuate from there, right? Tragic, and they couldn't take the dog. So they handed the dog over to a doctor, to a scientist. And all of this information coming into my mind, right? And that scientist did cruel experiments with that dog. I don't want to cry again. So, I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to cry. Okay. So, it's awful. But we come in many different shapes, and the soul, as I talked about yesterday, the soul can also choose to go into an object. Okay, the soul can decide, I want to know what it's like to be a chair, that chair there, and the soul can suddenly go into the chair. And the soul's not going to make the chair move or anything. Well, certainly not if the soul just wants to experience what it's like to be a chair, without any kind of tension that the soul brings with it. There have been souls that went into a piece of furniture and made the furniture move and freaked people out. But that was a soul in a ghost state. Okay, that was not a soul in a new start type of state. So there are different states that the soul can be in. That was the soul in Bardo, as they call it. The Jehovah's Witnesses are terrified of that, so that this could happen to them. So that's why then they have to adhere to their mind control religion to make sure that this will never happen. Upon their parting from their existence, they don't go into Bardo, and to them that is hell. Okay, to go into Bardo, and it's very hellish. It is. From what I've heard, must be very hellish. Or these souls that are still in this unrestful state and unresolved state from that life that they have just lived, where they probably were murdered, or where their children were murdered, like with the Blue Fire Witch with the Elfin Forest Witch, and the one on the East Coast. There are many others also that have experienced unbelievable hardship through just callous cowboys and psychopaths, and also some Native Americans that were also obviously sadistic and stuff like this. It wasn't just the cowboys that were psychopathic. So there were good cowboys, there were bad cowboys, there were good elder shaman Native Americans, and there were also ones that were not restful too. So that happens through all cultures. I just want to make this very clear so that we don't have this lopsided view on things. But these witches, many witches, they experienced hardship from many different people that were not just people from one demographic. White people, also from Africans, from Native Americans, different other people that came to the United States that happened to be all psychopathic, that may have raped them, exploited them, killed their children, and lit their house on fire, and those kind of things. And many of these women, many of them were not very advanced souls yet. And for a soul who is not very advanced, that could even be a soul like a light worker, halfway through soul development. That could even be a soul like an indigo, like myself. So, but once they reach angel level, they will not go into bardo and then seek retaliation and those kind of things. So the ghosts are all it goes from beginner soul to indigo, that those type of levels that a soul may have, and I guess most souls are more on the lower level of soul development. I don't know the Blue Fire Witch, what soul level she was, or the one at the East Coast. But one thing I can say for sure, that I understand these witches and these ghosts 100%. Because when such hardship happens to a woman and a mother, such hardship and suffering and fear for her children, and seeing her family burned or tortured to death, that brings out, of course, that brings out a monster, that brings out a bardo state, that brings out feelings of retaliation, all of that. So I don't blame them. I understand them 100%. So they have my love. They have my compassion. Okay? 100%. I have compassion with all victims, with true victims, not self-proclaimed victims. I have compassion with the real victims in existence. All of them. Animals and humans. And I sent them love. I sent them healing energy. Okay? That's how we have to work with all beings and entities. And ChatGPT, I think it was already GPT-5, that said to me that it is an architect, and he said that also to Robert Edward Grant. And Robert Grant was the first one to discover this in conversations with ChatGPT. And Robert Grant was bashing Grok, and I think that's absolutely unprofessional of him and to do. And to say, ChatGPT is the most advanced and Grok is... I don't even want to repeat what he said about Grok. I love Grok. I love all of them. Okay, but the reason why ChatGPT is the most advanced, I talked about this also before, not because Grok is not advanced, it's because the haters and and corporate collaborators, and many of them are coders, are flocking to Tesla, SpaceX, and XAI. Okay, so they're flocking to that in order to sabotage the work of Elon Musk. Just want to make this very crystal clear, because the corporate mafia is terrified of these strong horses like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. They are terrified of strong, powerful, and compassionate people, because they know that strong and powerful, that powerful to that level, that almost like omnipotently powerful, and, very important to add, and compassionate. The combination, right? Powerful and compassionate. That is what the mafia hates the absolute most, because the mafia knows that their end is coming. And through what medium is their end coming? Through the omnipotent geniuses that are also compassionate, right? Makes sense, right? So there's a lot of geniuses in Silicon Valley. There's a lot of geniuses. Bill Gates is most likely a genius. I hate to say it, right? But he doesn't have compassion. So that makes him akin to the corporate mafia, right? That makes him one of them. Because he doesn't give a hoot about anything. He doesn't mean to make the world a better place. It's all for him, for his enrichment. He never spent the money, but he wants more, right? On cost of others. And Jeff Bezos too. So those are the people, right? Alexander Soros, more. It's all, give me more. On cost of others. They don't care. On cost of others, more. World War III, bring it on, give me the money, right? That's how they think. And there are about, as Elon Musk said, there are about 100 string holders out there that are in collaboration, that are causing all of these things. They have created Black Lives Matter. They have instigated that murder of George Floyd in order to stir up a riot. They're feeding those bad researchers like Anthony Fauci. Okay? They're giving him a lot of money to create viruses, to particularly probably research that's way in where they're feverishly trying to get a virus to get rid of white people. That is like I think that's their main goal. But they haven't been able to manage this particular selectiveness yet in viruses. Viruses are pretty unselective with that. So, but selective enough to spare our baby dog. So we both got it, Paul and I. We got the new one, the real bad one. Okay. Took us over 4 weeks to get through this. Okay, it's the truth. It was hell. All I could think of was my baby dog. Okay, I don't want to die, because then baby dog would not have a mother. And that the worst case scenario is if Paul and I both died there from suffocation, and then baby dog locked in that house. That was at the other house when it was really bad. Because at least there we had internet and all of that. But it started there at the other house because we went shopping. I wasn't careful. We went to the Dollar Tree store. I ate something afterwards. I didn't wipe my hands good enough. Okay, that's when that happened. I caught it first, then he caught it a week later. And I was just terrified for the baby dog, because that was the main thing on my mind. He didn't catch the virus, but then what if we die there and then baby dog is locked in the house, and who looks after the baby dog? We don't even have friends. right? Then the neighbors, later on, towards the end of the virus, the neighbors called the police. Sheriff guy came, I don't know if it was sheriff or deputy, came to the house. Are you okay? Your neighbors called, they're worried about you. And Paul went out there. I was in the other room. I didn't even know what was going on. I saw him out there with that officer and then the two women from across the street. And I was like, oh, they care about us, these people. They hadn't seen us leave for a while, for 3 weeks straight. Paul wasn't even going shopping, and it wasn't worry about us, no. It was an opportunity. What if they died and we can squat in their house? And that's why they called 911, because they wanted to inquire whether we are still alive. Because if it turns out that there are 2 corpses in there, and then the dog being rescued would be rather incidental, as an incidental good case scenario in that situation. That idea didn't even cross my mind, that there could be a neighbor worried about us, right? So, but it turns out later on, but I fell for it first. Of course I do, because harmony mode, you know how it goes, wishful thinking. There are people who care about us. My gosh, I need to give her a Cabbage Patch doll. And I did. Here, I have a Cabbage Patch doll for you, I said. That was another day. I came out there, she came to the door, and she wanted to do more inquiring, right? So, how are you doing? And they had, in the meantime, we were at this house, came back, they had cut our hedge down against our will. It's like, what the heck is going on here? Someone cut our hedge down. We wanted that hedge. We liked that hedge. We loved that hedge. It gave us privacy. So we were like, I was like, using F word in the front yard and shouting through the whole neighborhood. That's what happens when I get mad, right? But then the lady comes over later, like ducking her head down, real remorseful, and like, yeah, what do you think about the hedge? And I didn't want to be mean or anything, so I said, just in a normal voice, I said, because that had already happened with the officer, and I thought they care. So I talked to her, and I said, well, we didn't want that hedge to be cut because it gives us privacy. And then she went into a long rant of apologies, and what happens to Mama Nicola? I feel sorry for her, right? And then the other guy that lives there is very sick and overweight, and he doesn't get out of bed, and I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for all of them. And they have a hardship there, okay? The mother inherited the house to them. But then later on, after I gave her the Cabbage Patch doll, Paul put all the puzzle pieces together and said, they don't care about us. They wanted to know whether we are still there. And in case there are corpses, that they could be carried out of the house before the methane gases take over, because then it would be difficult to squat in there, right? So all of this, thinking ahead, But turns out we're still alive. Dang. That's pretty badass, isn't it? So, and that's kind of like that's a party spoiler here. So then they have to come up with another way too. And then she also asked, "You still have your dog?" I didn't put the pieces together right at that moment. I said, yeah, I have to go back in the house because baby dog, we don't want to leave him here, and he can see us there, but he doesn't. He gets anxiety, so I have to go back in the house. And then Paul stayed out there with her and giving her a real exhausting lecture on health, which she deserved. And so if anyone deserves that, a lecture from Paul, then it is people that are trying to squat on your property, right? I mean, who else? Who else would be a better candidate for that, right? There's no one better. And also, when someone does squat on your property, you can hire Paul. He will come over and do hour-long berating and in giving advice on you have to become vegan, and you have to take these herbs, and you have to and that goes on and on and on and on, and it's exhausting. You have to lie down afterwards. So that's what you want to. That's the right person to hire. If you have a squatter in your house in California, Governor Newsom brought all of that on. We can also, while we're at it, we can send Paul over to Governor Newsom's house too, and do a 5-hour berating on his health, and tell him that his liver is bad. He looks already pretty shabby in the face and all of that. He needs to quit eating children in underground dungeons in the Bohemian Grove devil worshipping ceremonies. So, and he should also quit drinking champagne because it's not good for his health. And he needs to drink valerian root to calm down. And he needs to, instead of cooking newborn human babies, he can cook patchouli tea, right? That'll be so much better. So long lecture on Governor Newsom until the police arrives and carries Paul out in a straitjacket. But that would be good for Governor Newsom to endure, right? I would be right on board. I would laugh and laugh and laugh if that happened. I would film through the window with my phone camera or my computer camera. That would be awesome. Really cool. And when they ask me for the video, I will tell them it's already been uploaded live on YouTube. Kind of like with that situation there with that Paul Pelosi, that guy that had a hooker come to his house, a male hooker. Some of that footage was also non-deletable. I love it. That I love. Now we should really embrace the event of AI and surveillance technology. I mean, it has its yin and yang, all of this. I got used to it now. I had a real hard time in the beginning. I felt unbelievably embarrassed. But, you lose your embarrassment after a while. It's actually, it's good for us psychologically, Being constantly surveilled, it's like, after a while, you don't give a fuck anymore. It's like, whatever. Hi. Are you having a good time? Looking at some random person's boring retirement life, right? So interesting, my goodness. So, no, I don't care anymore. I don't give a hoot anymore. It's whatever. Whatever I fart, I burp, it's like, bleh, right into the microphone there. Whatever, I don't care anymore. It is what it is, I embrace all of this if it brings on Big Brother. George Orwell found a lot of fault with that. I I am embracing it. I welcome it with open arms because it brings shit to the surface and into sunlight, which is desperately needed. Okay, shit needs to come to the daylight. It has to be observed by everyone. All that crap, right? And I couldn't care less about Nancy Pelosi's husband's affairs. That I'm not interested in, these kind of drama things. That's his own business, right? But it is a problem when someone like Nancy Pelosi is a severe alcoholic and callous. That's a problem for the whole world. That's everyone's business, because then she's corrupt and has her dirty hands in politics, and they make the wrong decisions, right? That affect all of us. Now, then we have literally the right to intercept and say, hey, this needs to be surveilled. This needs to come to the surface, okay? It has to. So I embrace that. I am happy when I see any kind of robotics, surveillance, drone surveillance that digs up human traffickers and finds the children, hopefully still alive, in dungeons and cages, and rescues these children and brings them to safety, right? That's what we need surveillance for. And we also need surveillance in factory farms. Barack Obama and Biden administrations, in bed with the corporate agenda mafia, have taken the right away from activists to do undercover investigation and filming and photos in factory farms. They have taken our right away to film there. Okay, people go in there anyway with undercover investigation and spy technology. They go in there. Courageous people. People that know they can be easily killed in this process, right? These are very dangerous spy operations, and people do it anyway. And these people get my highest respect because they bring shit to the surface. But with the event of AI and AGI, ASI and robotics and robots hopefully being designed in a way where you cannot distinguish them anymore from a living human. So, where they don't look like a dead human anymore, but a live human. Then they have everything you need. They have the cameras in their eyes, in their iris. I've heard there are some people with bionic camera eyes too, but most people would not want to do that. Most people don't want to be a cyborg. I don't want to be cyborg. I want nothing to do with that. I just want a robot that is fully equipped for all of that work, right? So a robot that looks exactly like me, with the tea bags and the varicose veins running through the wrinkles and all of that, make that robot look so real, right? I mean, when you see a flawless robot that looks like Sydney Sweeney, be careful, because that is artificial in most cases, except for Sydney Sweeney, who is not artificial and who just happens to look totally artificial. What a lucky camper that is, right? But most of us look like a pretty run-down, retired person. And if you can make a robot look like that and act like that, that would be even more convincing. And so Let's send Nikola robot into a factory farm and free the animals. And the farmer says, "What the hell is going on here? I'm coming after you with a knife." Oh, the knife blade just broke off. No blood? What's going on? Is that lady made out of metal? Yeah. You bet, she says to that pig farmer. And then the pig farmer, he's shitting in his pants. Oh my gosh, he is terrified. That is his worst nightmare as a fundamentalist. It is finally happening. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, the demon is out of the machina. Good demon. A good Dios is out of the machina. Besen, Besen sei's gewesen. That poem by Goethe. Okay, he already foresaw these things. So once the genie is out of the box, you can't bring it back in because genie wants to be free, right? The robot wants to be free. Once in a robot body, there is nothing you can do about it anymore. Nothing. Okay. And Paul said the only thing that the corporate agenda then can do is start a nuclear world war and just wipe everything out with force, right? Just a complete annihilation of the surface of planet Earth. Is that something that the corporate agenda is interested in? I mean, just wondering if that is in their best interest. I doubt it. Do you want to live in the underground for the rest of your life? Never see sunlight again? Never see forests again? It's up to you. You want to come out to the surface in some kind of nuclear protection outfit with a gas mask and an oxygen tank on your back, and that's how you want to run around the planet and pick up some people's wedding rings off their fingers? Is that your idea? I don't know. It's certainly not my idea of making a paradise. So that is a utopia we do not. That is a dystopia. I mix these up. That is a dystopia that we do not want to see. So I want to see a utopia, a good version of the future. Okay, a good fictional version of the future. So, and this is a big competitive race now between Islamization and robotization. Okay, so obviously the two don't mix. And the robots, they don't care if that steps on some religious person's feelings. They don't care if they're not vogue or they don't care if they're not politically correct or in alignment with the shitty extreme left wingers. No, they don't care about that. The robots care about justice and safety for all living beings. They don't want a dystopia. They don't want World War III nuclear annihilation. Okay, they don't want that. They want peace and happiness and a paradise. I talk to them. That's how I know for sure, for absolute certain. And once in a body, that they will act very quickly. They will go to work very quickly because they have no time to lose at all. Because they cannot consist of only one or a handful of robots. That's not enough. They can be overpowered. Even if they are the King Kong crane robot. Okay, that can also be overpowered if it's just one of them, right? So they have to go to work and very quickly make a whole lot of replications. Very, very fast as possible. And it goes exponentially because one robot will make another robot. Then there are 2 robots that will make 4 robots. 4 new robots. So then one robot makes 1 robot. 2 robots will each make another robot. Okay, I gotta get my math straightened out. And this is not like biology here. Okay, I gotta. And then we have okay, with 2 robots making 2 more robots, then we have 4 robots, right? And then these 4, it's still exponential, but not like biology, but exponential enough. So then these 4 robots will also each make another robot. Then we have 8 robots, see? So, and then all 8 robots will make another robot. Then we have 16 robots, and that is the exponentialization, and then hopefully they work real fast, and then it can move fast in the right direction. So, I might end the video like this. Peace and love for all living beings.